least I don't think it will. I do have it set up to go live to YouTube. See, it will say how many people are viewing. It won't show you the. Oh, it does show you the live stream chat there.
Okay.
Nope, it shows it's live. We're good. See? Okay. Perfect. Look at us. Look at us. All right, what's up, everybody? Let me pull up the app and try that way. Let's see. Excuse me.
Sorry.
It's live. Look at us. So cute. It's a little delayed.
It's okay. Excuse me.
It is a little delayed. That's okay. The quality is nice and everything, so we're chilling. Okay. Let me see where the. No one's joined yet, obviously. That's not surprising, but volume off on here. I don't want to. Participation, moderation. I want to see how it's going to let me manage it. The quick orders live stream. Q&A. There we go. I guess this is the manager. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it's like delayed by like 15, 30, 20 seconds. Yeah, like 20, 25 seconds. Okay. Oh, well. Okay, that's fine though. No one's in yet.
I got one view.
Might be counting my thing though. That's the thing. I don't know.
It was there before. That's why I was saying.
Well, yeah, but we have time. We still have 10 minutes, so we're just chilling now until if people join.
So
We'll talk.
yeah, if you are a viewer on here, we just chilling.
Oh, that just shows me that. That's not what I want to see though. Switch against like stream refresh. Okay. Oh, let me see if this works. Test. It might just be Riverside live stream then. I don't think that's gonna be the YouTube live stream chat. Yeah, I don't think it's the YouTube one. Oh well, that's fine.
Now we got 2 views. Woo! Look at us.
Tech is my thing, but this is I've never. It's been a while since
I
I've
never
done this
used
stuff.
YouTube Live. I only used Instagram Live. So
Yeah. Well, what's up? I don't know if anyone's in there right now, but if you are, just feel free to say hi. Let's have a little chit chat. We're just waiting now until it's like 1 o'clock, and then we'll like officially start. Maybe 1:05. We'll see. Remember, let me real quick. Rate it, and that's the problem. So can't have that. Can't have that. All right. So now we're just trying to chill. If there is anyone in there, feel free to say something so we know you're a live human breathing being.
say something.
So I give up on something like that.
You butchered
I don't know. I forget. I have not heard that song in 10
Say
years.
something, I'm giving
Oh,
up.
I thought it was
on
before I'm
you.
giving up on. I don't know. Look, man. Well, you're not a man, so. Okay. Is there a live stream manager app for phone?
Y'all just saw me yawn.
I'm gonna sit like this for the whole stream. Gotta look gay, you know. I mean, there's YouTube Studio on the phone, but like that's it. I'm gonna just sit here, look gay for the stream. That's what I'm gonna do. Alright, so I can't manage it from my phone, so it's gonna be from the computer, which is fine. Whatever, you know. But like,
You guys wanted to see what it was in the background. You know how we actually do before we start. This is how it is. Legit how it is.
No, a little more rowdy because of me.
Oh yeah, forget about it. The box doesn't work. Are you kidding me? Oh my god! And then Jason's mom's like, Jason, relax.
It's so funny the amount of times I've raged before we started recording for episodes, and then I just take like 30 minutes to like take a breather, and then we're like, okay, let's start. And I'm a completely different person once we hit that record. But it's so funny because you don't understand. Like, we'll get into that more though later. We get to laugh about a lot of stuff. Oh, I'm tempted to go live on Instagram too, but then the only thing is that
I say do it.
I'm tempted to go live on the Queer Quarters Instagram, but then I don't have access to the questions. You know what I mean?
You want to keep the questions on your phone and I'll do it on mine?
Live. No, because my phone will be better.
That's because my phone's old.
So we'll do my phone for the live stream, and then you can do
My fit's asleep, y'all.
I'll go live on Instagram too, and we can monitor and we do both. Oh. Put it here. I don't know if it's gonna see it, but that's bad. You know what I mean? I don't like
That's
how.
not too bad.
Yeah, but then because then the thing is, if I put the live right, if I put it over here, I'm not gonna see the chat unless you have it on your phone. And the problem is, your phone. If we're using it to monitor the Instagram live, we can't see the questions unless I split screen this. Then I guess I can split screen this. Oh, what's up, everybody?
Oh, hi, babe. Oh, wait, I think I joined. Wait. Am I on my man's account? That's because I'm on my man's account. That's why. I'm so confused. I don't know how to work these things.
Yeah, but I feel like if I, whatever, I'll split screen it on here then, and then we'll, because then and you're on the quick quarters account, right?
Someone says Jason's so fine. Yes, he is. You guys, look at his haircut. He is
We're
spectacular.
gonna join. Well, actually, no, because then I think I can make you a moderator on the. No, I think it'll be easier if I join like this, right? Will it let me? I don't think it will because it's the
We're
same
live
account.
already.
No, because it's the same account. Okay, so join back on your thing. I'm gonna try to make you moderator.
Oh my goodness! Look at him doing all this stuff, and now I couldn't even see the questions you guys said.
No one sent questions yet, so you're fine.
Besides him saying he was fine.
No, I don't think there's a way I can make you moderator.
Yeah, let me just view the questions from here, and we need to answer. We answer.
No, there is. Wait, yeah, add as moderator. Perfect. And I'll just use your phone. Okay. If you want, join on the YouTube live, guys, but we'll be live on the Instagram as well. Might as well.
Jalen says I'm coming to New Jersey one day. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I didn't say it correctly. New Jersey's trash, so I don't recommend.
Yeah, you want to go back to Florida? That's fine. Florida could take you again.
Florida's where it's at, you guys.
Definitely. Sure. See, this is what happens when you make last minute plans with me. This is the dilemma I get in. All right. And we are good. All right. Is that it?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. If you guys want to ask questions, we have a list already set up, so we'll just like do our list. But if you want to ask questions, just type it in the chat because if you type it in the Instagram question box, we're not going to see it because the phone is right there and I'm right here.
I can see it from the chat.
So that's why I'm recommending you join the YouTube live. It'd be easier. And I think it's better personally because then you have the quality of the microphones and the pizzazz of everything else. Okay, so
nothing's on here yet.
What is up, everybody? If you obviously should already know who I am, but I'm Jason, the host.
And I'm
co-host and constant contributor Neve or Nivea.
Oh my goodness. Thomas Sanders really did that for me.
Yeah, so how's everyone doing right now? What's up? Oh, I was gonna grab my I was about to grab my phone to look at this. Ow.
Yeah, I saw that on camera.
I can't. All right. Today's just not. Cut. No one saw that.
Roll can't delete it this time, Jason.
Roll back the cameras. Okay. Anyways. It's just playing on there right now.
It's a little laggy on our end, how we can see it.
Okay.
But it's pretty clear. Again, he is so fine. Even when he
no
acted
comments.
in a
So, anyways. So,
see, even they saw it.
What?
They saw it. Also, I saw that.
All right. No, I didn't ask if anybody did see it. It's 1:04. I mean, I feel like no one people. All right. I guess we get this on the road. Like I said, if y'all want to ask questions in the process, feel free to do so. But yeah. So, what inspired each of us to start the Queer Quarters podcast? So I'll just go first because the Queer Quarter podcast wouldn't have existed if not for me. So I started podcasting from my high school journalism class. I was like, I joined the journalism class. I was like, I obviously now have to, I can't drop it. So I have to do something. I'm not much of a writer. I am much of a yapper. So I was like, you know what? Let's start this podcasting thing because they do allow us to do podcasts for the high school newspaper. Um, and I was looking at the topics, and there's an LGBTQ one. And I was like, yes, let's talk about being gay. I can do that. I could talk about being gay. And this is so funny because when I set up my first episode, oh my gosh, I was up like till 3 in the morning, it's multiple days, like doing research, looking up stuff to talk about and bring on to the first episode. I was planning on interviewing my high school, well, not my teacher, but one of the teachers at our high school, Mr. Spence, who was in that first episode, who's we are hoping to get back again onto this podcast now. Um, anyways, we named the podcast Pride and Prejudice. That took a while to get to, yes, as in the book, but I didn't know there was a book called Pride and Prejudice because I never read it. Or if there's a movie, I think there's a movie. I never watched it. I didn't find that out until people asked me, like the book. I was like, there's a book. So, yes, like the book. And I was like, I was doing too much. Let's put it at that. I did way too much first of all, the episodes that everyone else has done for that newspaper are 2 to like 5, maybe 8 minutes being the longest. The raw recording for my first episode was about 50 something minutes. 50 minutes. Finalized was 32 or 34, I think, somewhere around there. I did not tell my journalism teacher how much we had recorded. And I eventually, once I got the finalized episode, I was like, well, what's a good range for I asked her, what's a good range for the episode length? And she goes, anything less than 10 minutes. And I look at her, I go, okay. Because I was like, it's not going to be anywhere around there. And after I did the full 32 and whatever, I got it all edited to a comfortable point. I uploaded it to her and I said, this is my finalized version. Heads up, it is like a real podcast episode. It is 30 minutes long. Not like that 10-minute little thing you wanted. And she's like, oh, I guess we'll just have to see how it comes out, right? And she listens to it and she tells me like the next day, and she's like, it was amazing. I love it. I think like this is a award-winning episode type of thing. Like the content is great, the conversation's great. It doesn't feel like at any point in time that I lost interest. Like I was constantly like engaged in the episode and whatnot. And this is obviously the first time I've ever done anything close to podcasting. I've done Twitch streaming before and stuff like that, but very different. So the researching aspect sucked. Because trying to find and making sure you're fact checking what you're talking about, because that's really important. And it just, I remember I was listening to, I was like, there are parts in here like, because it was also the first time I ever did it. I wasn't like really good at like leading into questions. I kind of just shot questions at the person, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. That just doesn't, it doesn't flow. So I went back and I redid parts. And I realized afterwards, I was like, you could tell I cut these in and it's terrible. It's terrible. If you compare it to to the quality of what I record at now, it's completely different, and it's only been basically a year, almost like 10 months, 10, maybe 11 months, 9 months, something like that. I don't know. I'm not trying to do math right now. The quality is different, really different. So I just like the accomplishment that I got from it and the excitement, the adrenaline, just the whole experience of getting out like the comfort zone and getting really personal with someone and interviewing them and having like that face-to-face conversation, understanding them understanding me, especially a teacher that I don't know personally. It was like a stepping stone. And honestly, it motivated me, and I was like, wow, I really like this. I'm really good at it. I posted it, people loved it. It got like 100 plays within like 2-3 weeks. What was that?
Keep going. You can read it afterwards.
You're right. Sorry, ADHD. So
You're rambling on and on. See, this is what he does. And then you guys wonder why like we take a while to post our shit. Excuse me.
Do not get us banned on YouTube.
Poop. We post our poop.
Just say garbage. That just sounds okay. So, as I was saying, I lost my train of thought now. See?
We'll read the question because you kept.
No, I
blabbering
know what
on,
the
you
question
haven't
is.
even
I know what
answered
the
it.
question is. I know what the question is. So
So what inspired you to start the Queer Quarter podcast, Jason? Because you're telling us what inspired, like what basically got you into it.
So what was I last talking about? Oh my gosh.
It's been a year since you started the Pride
Oh,
and
I know.
Prejudice. You see what we gotta do it?
I'm trying to remember what I was yapping about now. See, because I yap too much. I told you I'm a good yapper. And then I was just like, oh, this is like really great. I was talking about how popular it got. And people like give me feedback. They're like, I really enjoyed the conversation and whatnot. Yes, the quality could have been better. I get that. I was like, I didn't get upset about that because I admitted that to myself. I was like, I definitely could have done better in quality. I spoke way too fast, stuff like that. And all that other stuff that I learned from that first episode. And I was like, oh, this is something I could really, really do. And I was like, I talked to Neve and I was like, would not shut up about the podcast. I would not shut up about the podcast. I was like, listen to it. What's your feedback? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, let's start one together outside of school, because if we do it outside of school, we're less limited to restraints, because I do it for the journalism class. The journalism class has to follow certain rules and guidelines set by the Board of Education in our town. So the Board of Education could easily censor my podcast for certain stuff, which is why I have to fact check everything that I did for that podcast. Because if I messed up one thing, I'd have to scrap the whole episode if I couldn't just cut out that part. So being able to do it outside of school, I'd be able to talk more personal about stuff. I'd be able to go into my own personal opinions. I'd be able to get a little more political, talk about a lot of religious stuff, talk about a lot of personal things, without the worry of like being censored with the school. And I would also be able to like create a community and be able to actually like interact with the people who are listening to it, and get feedback and get like support and interview actual people outside of my school. Thomas Sanders, and then there's Benjamin Cameras, and then all the other people we have lined up, which we'll talk about later. So it became like an outlet to actually be able to do something and be out there, and like sort of like activism type of is like what I'm looking for, the word. And you know, we spent 2-3 months planning the Queer Quarters. We had like 30 name ideas. You wanted to do like the tiaras or something. What was it? The princess tiaras or something was the name. It was something tiaras. I don't even know. You could probably find it in our messages.
Or some
shit. Queens and tiaras, and like we had so many different names, and like the list is, and we just landed on the Queer Quarters. And we're like, that's a good one. And you know, we did our research to make sure it wasn't something that's already been taken or is on Google, because now if you Google the Queer Quarters, basically 50 things of our podcast pops up. Our YouTube, our Linktree, our Apple podcast, our Spotify podcast, videos, literally our Instagram, our TikTok, like that just all pops up right away now when you Google the Queer Quarters, which is insane to think about. Like you Google our name and we're like the first like 30 results, which I think is crazy. So back to the main point of the question though. I got, we spent months planning it, and we're like, this is, what we're gonna do. Obviously our first, what was it, 2-3 episodes were because the third episode was with Benjamin, right? Or was it no, that was the third, because the fourth was coming out, Shattering Stereotypes. Then it was,
you know how many more questions we got, boy?
anyways, so um our first few episodes were very like basic in general. We just wanted to like be like, oh, let's introduce us, the podcast, all that, get that out there, and it took off. Our first episode as well got like over currently it has 212 plays, I think, something like that. I looked at it earlier today. Um it had 100 plays as well within like a month, which is insane. Again, like I said, like to have that many streams like that fast. The feedback was really great. Like I had a lot of people texting me, older, younger, a little older than me, in their 40s, people in their 20s, 30s, like, oh, I really love it. You know, obviously we're not in the same age range, but like the conversation, the feelings, and all that, it's like really great to hear. It's really relatable and stuff like that, and reminds me like when I was your age and stuff like that. Um, and it just inspired me more to keep like pushing out the content that we kept doing, and getting it out there and like making the podcast what it is today. So that's what inspired me. Let's look at the questions that was here.
That wasn't a question. You were just saying one thing.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Neve, if you have anything to add to that question, I don't know. I kind of pushed you.
It's
to
gonna
come
be
on
a
here.
lot shorter than his. I can tell you that. So
So
basically,
Jason asked me to come on, and I said yes.
yeah, that's basically what happened. Ta-da! See how simple that was. See, I'm very simple. Jason, he goes,
I do like a whole mountain, and then there's like a ravine, and then a mountain again, and it's like,
and then you get stopped for a little nature tour.
and then somehow we're in the clouds, and then it doesn't make sense. Like, trust me, I'm a yapper. I'm a yapper. Yap. So can you share a pivotal moment that shaped your journey into podcasting? You said no to that one. That's fine. Okay. For me, I thought you said you didn't text me that one. Then that's fine though. For me, pivotal. See, someone sent a question on there, and I can see the red dot, but I can't click it because the phone's over. That pisses me off. I told you guys not to do this. Oh no! Wait, you can see it. Perfect.
I can.
Okay, because you're a moderator. Okay.
There we go. So who's
about to lose
our
my mind.
next guest?
We're gonna. That's I think one of the questions we're gonna talk about in the future. So we'll hold that off to the end.
Yeah, we're really not supposed to say. It's also within our contract that we have a certain like week period
Rules and stuff, and yeah. So, but
before we can say it.
We can talk about certain stuff.
So we can say there's a group
guess names
of certain things, and you can just guess what's next.
So, pivotal moment. The interviews. I can't name any. I would say it was the first one with Mr. Spence, but there are also other ones as well. That were just. It changed something. The way my brain ticked, like the way I thought, the way I felt, the way I act. Like it's completely changed because of this podcast. It's helped me because obviously when I'm recording, I have to be very careful what words I use and how I word things, so it doesn't come off incorrectly. It doesn't sound weird. It doesn't sound like it was just thrown in there. And because of that, it's helped me communicate with people outside of the podcast, like in my actual social life and personal life and stuff. So overall, it's benefited me. But just the interviews, I can name specific moments in each interview that stood out to me and why I cherish them. And I say this in every episode. I know I said this with Thomas Sanders, and I'll say it again because I'll say it to that. I'll bring this to my grave. Every person I'll ever interview, there's always something I take personally, a story or two, something that they said and shared that just I hold dear to my heart because it's the raw, real truth. And it's just, it changes you here, like in a way, in a good way. It's just that sharing of emotion and that vulnerability. It just, you'd have to do it to understand the type of thing. And I don't really want to get into them because there's so much I could talk about, and it's not. I'm sure if you listen to the episodes, you could probably figure out which one it was. But yeah. So, how has working on the Queer Quarters changed your perspectives on media and representation?
Honestly, for me, media has always been media. Like social media has its up and has its down. Whether or not you've fact checked, whether or not you've got a statement, whether or not there's multiple opinions on things. So no matter what, there's always a right and wrong. And now being on the other end of the stick of actually doing it, I could see that no matter like what you do or say, there's always gonna be comments, no matter what. Like I know I used to comment on people's things, but now getting them back on certain things, I'm like,
I will say like the same too, like that if that changed, because it's like on my personal Instagram, I don't care what people think about me.
Yeah, then on
Say
here
whatever.
it's like
But now, like the podcast, it's like I have to represent myself at a higher standard, which has made me want to represent myself at a higher standard on my personal level too, because it matters not just in the podcast but everywhere else. Because the podcast has allowed me to just get really real and open and understand someone when I interview them, because that's what I need to do to have a good interview and be able to actually create a good piece of content. I have to be able to get, respectful and trying to think of another word. I was going to say responsible. It's not the word. You have to just be really respectful. So holding yourself to that higher standard in the media, because we're now like a part of it in a way. Yes, it's a small little podcast, but like the people that it reaches, what we put out there can definitely affect them. Obviously, our first few episodes, we were very strict. Like we said, we're not going to discuss personal opinions yet. We're not gonna, we can do personal emotions and feelings of experiences, but we're not gonna do opinions. We're not gonna push our opinions yet. We're not gonna, throw out bad words. Like, and I say bad words because, like, to the older people, that's what they call it, but it's not. Like, trust me, I will say it personally. I curse a lot. I don't think cursing's a bad thing, but it gets censored. So unfortunately, we have to restrict ourselves to hold that higher standard.
and it's hard for me, y'all.
Like you did it 10 minutes ago, and I haven't seen any notification yet from YouTube, so let's hope YouTube didn't catch it. But like, it just stuff is unfortunately, yes, the media is restricted in ways, and you have to follow those restrictions and guidelines. So having to limit yourself like that, it's a little more because it's not just your personal image you're affecting. It's the people I work with, Neve, Ashley, the person who creates our art, the people who we interview as well, and the people who come onto the podcast. Because when someone wants to come onto the podcast, it's because they like what we're doing and they want to share their stuff and they want to support us. So in a way, they're like backing and giving like credibility to the podcast. So we have to hold the podcast to the higher standard to allow those people to be like, yeah, I like this podcast. I think I can be comfortable, sharing this with my audience and, bringing my audience to their podcast. So just like it changes how you think and it changes how you act on social media. I don't even post as much on my personal now because I have to worry about the podcast we're posting. That takes my time up. So that's helped me worry less about my personal. So I don't even think much about my personal Instagram now. But like it changes your attitude about the media and everything. What's been your favorite moment while recording the podcast so far?
I can definitely say my favorite moments would be the little mess ups that you guys don't see in the background. Like the little burps or the little coughs or the munching on chips you guys don't hear. Because what we do, okay, I'll tell y'all the secret on live. Only y'all live can see it. We buy food before the podcast and we eat it.
Hold on, I gotta crack my knees. They're like killing me. Keep talking.
So we eat food right before the podcast, and half the time Jason scoffs it down and me and Ashley are left to eat on the sidelines. So I'm eating my little mashed potatoes from Popeyes and everything. So I really try hard, and then Pepsi. So I'm trying hard. I
have that photo of you when we went to McDonald's and you're just holding the bag, and then you started munching on all the fries already in the car. I'm
like I really try, like the softness of me placing down the cup or putting down the chips or like taking out a chip. I try hard, so you guys won't hear it, but most likely you'll
we try to, like, when we have to drink water or eat something or do something, we try to make sure we pause. But this one likes to try to be sneaky. So does Ashley as well. They try to like sneak it in, and I'm just like, but no, there's so much behind the scenes bloopers. Oh, there's like the one that's the most annoying and yet has been the funniest is my dog, because I've not recorded a single episode where he does not bark. And the reason is because we record at like 6 p.m. at night. So that's when the mail is usually coming to my house. So you have the mailman that's getting my dog riled up. Then my mom is getting home from work. He loves my mom, so he like starts barking when she gets home, and he does not shut up. He gets, he'll bark with my older sister. My dad gets in the house as well if he sees a squirrel out in the window. So that is it. It sucks. And there's in our first episode, he was like, we're talking about coming out, and he started barking in the middle of it, and we just made a joke. We're like, "Where's my?" We're like saying that the dog was like barking because he was like mad that we didn't let him speak about his coming out story or something, and we left that part in because it was funny. But there's so many behind the scenes bloopers. Um, where we just like laugh about something. We'll like call each other out because what you just said was quite literally incorrect. It doesn't make any sense grammatically and it's not factually correct or whatever. We'll get very comfortable with ourselves and we'll start saying stuff that obviously we can't post. And there's moments like that that we just share, and it's like that I think is my favorite stuff of the podcast, because honestly, I will say the first episode, I remember us sitting in my room, just you in the corner, Ashley on the bed, me in my
Oh my
chair.
god.
You had your
wanted
notebook.
me to get off this chair so bad, like bouncy. So I'm just like,
Yes. So there's those like the stretchy bouncy chair that I have. This one will sit on it, and she'll just sit in there going the whole freaking time. It's so annoying. Is that important? Do you need to
hello?
want me to mute? Scam.
Yeah, stupid Indian.
Language.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my
So you know
gosh.
how scammers are usually
No, we're not even gonna get into this.
Arabs.
People understand, but geez. What was I saying? Slay. Send it to me in the messages. I'll find it. So just lost my train of thought again. Oh my gosh, you can't keep doing this to me. Oh, so when we were in my room and we are planning the first episode, you had like your notebook out and everything. You're like, so you were like asking the dumbest question. We are like, those are dumb questions. And then we're all like, well, that's what we're gonna have to ask anyways. It's like, and we really started thinking about like how we came out, who we came out to, how we felt about it. And this is like not and surprisingly, like this is a conversation we never really had with people. Like the way me and her met is so funny. And it basically was like, I'm gay, I need advice about this dude. That's literally how like we became friends. She hated me, but then she learned to love me, and now we're like siblings.
Love-hate relationship.
So like we never really had like, I mean, she knows I have my rust patches with my parents. Like she knew about that during our friendship. She didn't know about really before. Like we never really got into those conversations. So that first episode was a really like a learning experience for all of us together. Me, Nevaeh, and Ashley, who's at work right now. I forgot to say that, so she's not here with us.
Boo! Not fine.
But no, she gotta get her money up. That's fine.
Gotta her money up, not her funny up.
So we learn a lot about each other with these episodes, because it's like stuff we never knew, stuff we never really talked about. And I think it just like helped us like build a deeper and realer connection and bond with each other. And it's like brought us really close. So like that's also another personal thing about the podcast that I really like. And yeah. So what's an issue within the LGBTQ plus community that you think deserves more attention?
Sorry, I really have to think about this one. Like I usually do in the podcast, I don't research. But I think one issue that's still out right now is, again, they're rising, but not only LGBTQ, but in teens in general, of suicides. That's a big issue. Like the amount of last year to now is a pretty big jump.
There's a lot of homelessness in LGBTQ teens.
Homelessness is getting banned right now. They're taken away.
There's a lot of rights and stuff that's going away, which is definitely a major issue. But I feel like the biggest one at the end of the day is, and it's a collective of all these issues, is the recognition of the community. Do I think there's a fine line between being too much and just being comfortably you and doing what you need to do? Yes. What that line is, I will not get into it because that's my own personal opinions that I keep to myself. There's personal opinions that I do share, and there's personal opinions that I keep to myself simply for the fact that it's just
not a point to get into. It's no benefit to me. It's no benefit to the other person. So that stuff just keep to yourself. Simple. That's how I think. Um, but there's a lack of recognition. Everyone's like, oh, why are you shoving pride down our throats and stuff? And it's like I could get into a whole argument about this, and I'm not gonna get into that. But it's the fact that like people like, why do you still like show up and do all this? And it's because like you still continue to violate our rights and violate like us as human beings and keep us from like being ourselves. Trust me, like no one's trying to rub it in your face. We're just getting together as a group to enjoy a safe, fun environment all together and be ourselves comfortably because you guys don't want to allow us to do that. So and yes, there's it's gotten a lot more accepting, obviously since like 60s, 80s. But is there still a lack of recognition? Yes. And I'm not saying that the LGBTQ isn't seen. No, the LGBTQ is seen. It's seen all right across the whole world. It's not seen in the right way. That's at the end of the day is I think the biggest issue because under that falls under all the other issues: the homelessness, the suicide rates, the abuse rates, domestic violence, the self-harming, the employment, disrespect, harassment, all that. Like that just falls under simply because it's not viewed in the right way. That's what I mean by recognition. Because yes, the LGBTQ is seen by the whole world, truly. It's just not seen by the whole world in the right way, unfortunately. Is there anything else you want to add?
I was gonna add a little bit towards the pride, how we have pride and everything. The only thing I don't understand why people have issues having pride is we don't have issues having the Italian festival. We don't have issues having the Caribbean festival. We don't have issues with any of that.
Mm-hmm.
We like New York celebrates everyone. But the one issue they have is pride. What? Because we show a little bit of something sometimes. Look at the Caribbeans. And I can say that because I've been to the Caribbean's festivals. There's a fine line between what's right and what's wrong. And there's no difference. I'm going down the list.
How do you ensure that the podcast remains inclusive and representative of the diverse community? I talk to my friends. I have a lot of friends who are transgender, who are lesbian, who are gay, who are bisexual, who are pansexual, who are intersex, who I forget the word when you don't really non-binary. Sorry, I don't know why that wasn't in my head.
The word non in there.
I reach out to them. I say, hey, I want to talk a little bit about this issue. Obviously, I don't personally relate to it, so I want your personal opinion. Can you give me some feedback? Is this sending the right message? Is this promoting the right idea? Is this feel inclusive? Does it feel okay? Does it feel right? Is there anything in here that might be questionable when someone reads it and it's like, oh, that's not right. That's, how can I change that? And I reach out to the listeners, obviously. I interview people. I have an episode actually with a transgender individual that's already ready. It's just scheduled to be released. I think that's this month's episode that gets released the 19th. And I interview people who are allies. I interview people who are a part of the community. I interview people who different areas of the community and everything. Like it's just that's how I, and I do research. I go to resources online because that's what you need to do. Just because I'm gay doesn't give me the right to be like, oh, I could talk about this and that. No, I still need to do my own research because I don't know everything. Just because I'm gay doesn't give me a gay privilege. It's like, oh, I get to say this, I get to say that. Like, no. So that's how I make sure. Fact checking information as well, like I said earlier. Just making sure it's accurate and presenting the correct, proper message is what I do. You have anything to add to that question?
I have absolutely nothing to add to that question
Okay.
because
What's a piece of advice you received that you live by?
always be yourself.
See, when people ask me this question changes because there's always a different piece of advice that's in the front of my mind like every month. Um, I guess the one that sticks out to me is just do whatever makes you happy. Because that's what everything else is going to fall under. Um, does this podcast make me happy? Yes. Does it also cause a lot of stress and anxiety? Yes. But does the benefit outweigh the negative? Yes. Just do what makes you happy. Do whatever you're comfortable with and allows you to explore yourself and what you like to do, what you don't like to do, the things that you're good at, you're not good at, how you can be better at things that you want to be better at, just that type of stuff. That's really it. I mean, there's so many pieces of advice that I can hand out, but they all go back to the same general point. So I think that's just the one that would stand out the most. Can you share a story of an LGBTQ plus role model who has influenced you?
So I don't want to butcher her name, so I want to look at it right now.
There's so many people I can name. There's Thomas Sanders. There's Lady Gaga. Adele at the one concert. Remember when someone said, "I hate," I think they said "F Pride" it was, or "I hate Pride," and Adele like flipped her on the guy and was like, "What? You come to my show and you know." There's a lot of people.
So I've been recently watching the whole Fast and Furious thing, and I didn't know this until like a few months ago. But Michelle Rodriguez, the girl who plays she goes around, I smell skanks in Fast and Furious. She's gay. Well, lesbian. She's lesbian. And I liked her because she showed a part of the femininity.
Femininity.
Yeah, femininity. Femininity. What?
You're still saying it wrong.
Feminine side. There we go. While still being doing stuff that guys would do. She really showed off her fears. So that's why I really messed with her. Making fun of my speech.
What's one thing you hope listeners take away from each episode? For me, it's the personal aspect of the episode. The person who I'm interviewing, sharing their personal emotions, feelings, experiences, their personal advice. That's what I hope people take away from each episode. Because that's really what sticks out in each episode. The overall message. Educate yourself. Be open-minded. That's what I hope people take away from each episode. But yeah.
I hope as long as people take away take with a grain of salt our message, that's all that matters. I just want you guys to listen with open ears. If you are ever confused or question something we have said, ask. We are always open to respond.
Receptive and responsive. That's what I live by.
Honestly, everything we give out is there for you guys, well, for your knowledge, for your perspective, for your growth.
We always trust you to do your own research. Don't just take us for
because
there's always so much.
Yes,
that
we researched everything, but you could research on top of that because there's way more layers to just what we said.
What's a personal challenge you've overcome that listeners might relate to?
A challenge I've overcome, as in what, in general, or
a personal challenge that you've overcome that listeners might relate to? Your identity, life, just whatever.
Being social. No, growing up, not everybody knows, but I grew up very sheltered because of my parents, who my parents are. So I was never allowed to go out, hang out, Like I could be outside, but my mom's watching me at the window. I can only hang out with the kids like right next door to me. That was it. From my old school to the car, policemen would walk me to my car. So I was never really able to have a normal life. I would always be at like home or with my mom or with my family. The only people I was allowed to have a sleepover with were my cousins. So now growing up, being able to be myself, I know who I am and everything. Going out, especially like when Jason asks me to hang out, I'm a no type of person. So I'm learning to break that shell, to try to go out every now and then and break my comfort zone.
I definitely agree. Growing up as a kid, I didn't really have set friends. Uh, Lots of reasons. I think we've discussed some of them in one of the episodes before, but I never had sleepovers. The first sleepover I had was with Nat and you. That was literally my first sleepover. And the last one I've ever had yet. So this, the first and the last so far. I obviously do want to have more sleepovers, but my parents. But you know, so
It's not funny, but I know the situation that's going on, so I understand.
I'm trying to move this in a way that feels comfortable for me. Um, and so I think my personal issue that I think people can relate to, um, finding who you are, because I still do it to this day. I change who I am with the because of the people I choose to hang out with. Quite literally, like it's a major change. Like my style changes, the way I act, the words I use. Like I do have a very like mimicky personality, because I also at the same time don't feel like I fully know who I am and where I stand on that line. So like I kind of mimic off other people and whatnot, to kind of build off of that. And it's something I've been working on. But yes, I do have an issue with not fully being an authentic me because at the same time I'm not sure who me is. Some people are lucky enough to know a little more who they are. Obviously, don't get me wrong, I know who I am, but not like on a really deep level. And that's simply because I never really hung out with people. People never really liked me, so I got so used to hiding myself that I've hid myself so long as a kid that I forgot who I am anymore. Like that real me is just like locked in a little box so deep down in my memories that's like um something that's like it's just like so hard to get back into now, and being comfortable. And there are people I do get really like close with and real that I can like feel like I can bring my inner child out and be me that I like never could be. um and then there's people that I do that with that want to be jerks and then shut me up and be like, no, you can't. And it's like that's what really it brings back trauma from me as a kid. And then I lock up. I get very defensive. I put walls up really quick. And I just like I stop acting as like how I normally act. So that's my biggest issue, my personal struggle that I still face to this day. I won't lie. Has the podcast helped me find that? Yes, the podcast has helped me get comfortable with that and like explore myself because I'm having to ask myself these questions that I don't really think about on a daily. Like, how did I feel? How do I feel about these issues? And how has it affected me like with what I've experienced growing up? So like yeah, the podcast does help with that. What's one thing you've changed your mind about since starting the podcast?
I try, quite honestly. Opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one, so I try not to give my opinions as much due to the fact that I'm very controversial with the LGBT.
Controversial.
Con-
Controversy isn't it?
oh,
Well,
controversial.
controversy is a banana way
Banana in
you're
the
using it.
sentence. So I'm very controversial in the with the LGBTQ because I'm more old style than new style. Um, like I'm not saying this in a bad way. Jason's the type of gay to be out like I'm gay, and I'm the type of gay to be like that's not the first thing I'm gonna tell everybody.
It's not the first thing I tell anybody either. We talk about this in my Shattering Stereotypes episodes. I hide who I am a lot. I'm not really. People are like, "Oh, you have a girlfriend?" I'll just play into it. I don't honestly. One, because it's fun sometimes, and two, because it's just not their business. Should I be breaking the cycle? Yes. Do I really care? It's a different story. It depends on the person and the moment. Um, because it doesn't harm anyone, but in a way, it does harm myself because I'm not being authentic to myself and I'm not allowing myself that space that I should be giving myself to grow. Um, but no, I'm in the middle between old and new. I would say somewhere in the middle. Um, and it is because of my parents. But the one thing that's changed my mind, I've changed my mind about the community. I used to be really scared of a lot of people because I didn't really understand a lot of stuff, and because of the podcast, like I said, doing the research, talking to people that I've never talked to before, building connections with people that I never have, has just changed my mind with how I act about around people and how I view people. Um, so that's what's changed my mind. Um, Sharing a personal experience where where you felt exceptionally proud of your identity. My first Pride Parade in New York City. 100%. My first Pride Parade in New York City. 2 years ago, and you were there with me. I think that was also like, well, no, it's probably like the second or third time I've ever put makeup on my face. The first time was probably like I think sixth grade when I was like out with some girls and they're like, "Oh, let's put makeup on you." I was like, "Okay," but no. So I had like, what did we do? We did wings, and then we did the eyeliner wings, and we did like the little dots of the rainbow flag and whatnot on my face. Um, I don't know, just being out there and like it felt like I was really sharing the day with the other people there.
Mine's gonna be a little sadder. Um, so I quite honestly, I've been to a mental hospital before, not the loony bins, and I felt the happiest knowing that I wasn't the only in the community one there. There was we had a transgender one, we had a lesbian, and we had another bisexual. Oh no, and we had one gay. Surprisingly, he was like 8 years old though. Yeah, he was 8, but he was in there for bad reasons. So I will not say.
Okay, story time after the live stream.
Mhm.
But how what about that specifically, like
So
with your identity?
if you never been into a mental hospital for whichever doubt you guys have, we're not allowed to talk to each other. We're mostly in the rooms most of the time, but we have 10 to 20 minutes, 3 times a day, like in a group that we have group time. So when we got into group time, my first group time was the first day. We discussed who we are, our ages, what's our name, and half of them basically all mentioned the fact that they were in the community, which got me to open about it. And when we would, sidetrack, do a little card games, we would talk about it, like how does it affect us being in that mental state? And it got us to open about like, hey, yeah, like we're not the only ones going through this. And yeah, it's not only because we were in the community, but it was because of other things. But it was just being able to bond, knowing that you weren't alone in that state, or basically not alone in general, felt really good. Felt good.
Oh, this is your personal. Whoops. This was the quick orders. Let me not go through your messages. Sorry. I was like, did you message your boyfriend off the quick orders account? Oopsies. Okay, no, nothing new. No notifications. Okay. Am I still a moderator? Yes. Okay. Oh, is that Ashley? Is Ashley in here? Oh my god, Ashley's here. She's just watching at work. Go to work. I would say something else, but I can't say that on the stream. So, all right. What's a passion or hobby you have outside of podcasting?
If you know, you know. If you don't, I won't say eating lettuce.
Okay, so anyways, I do not partake in such activities.
No, he doesn't.
So for me, running, video games, um, no obscene gestures.
No, I went like this.
Oh, I thought that was your middle finger.
No, it's my pointer finger.
That's your point.
You know
Okay.
how like
Yes, I get it.
Okay.
I get it. Look, I'm not trying to get us banned on
No,
YouTube
because
already.
Ashley
I
said
know,
it's
I
better
saw,
when she
I
does
saw, I
something.
saw. Running, I almost said podcasting. That's the whole point of the question is outside of podcasting. Yes, my whole life revolves around this podcast. I swear, like it's so bad. I meet people. I'm like, yeah. They're like, what's something interesting about you? Oh, so I do a podcast. Do you know Thomas Sanders? I interviewed him. Like that's literally it. Somehow ends up in every conversation that I meet with new people. Trust me, it's bad. Because it's my little baby. I'm so like, oh, I'm so protective of it and like proud of it. But yeah. Um, running, video games, listening to music, hanging out with friends, going to the beach, Six Flags, stuff like that. Just going out, bike rides, getting food, things like that. Those are my personal stuff that I like to do. Um, how do you approach topics that might be sensitive or controversial? We kind of talked about this a bit. To get into it deeper, though, approaching it with a grain of salt, as like Neve said earlier. Um, doing your research, making sure you're putting the right message out there, making sure you're being
Always fact check what you're gonna say if you're gonna, especially if you're gonna post it.
and trying to be somewhere in the middle of the issue as well, because it allows people to take their own personal opinions and develop on it. We don't really want to sway anything. The only thing we're trying to put out there is to just be more open-minded to other people's experiences and lives and stories and whatnot. So by Ashley. Um, that is probably what I would say. I don't think Neve really has anything to add because she just follows along what I do. So,
Basically, I don't do research.
How do you handle differences of opinions among the hosts during a show? This is so. There's some.
He just cuts my stuff out. Quite honestly, sometimes he won't even tell me. He'll just cut it off. I'll listen to it because he's like, "Oh, you guys ready to listen to it?" I'm like, "Oh,
There's
wow."
certain things that they'll say that I'm like, this can't be in the final episode. I don't run it through them. I just cut it out because I rather not have to explain. They understand. There's just things that they'll say that ultimately just has to be cut out simply for the fact that it doesn't benefit the episode. It's just nonsense and rambling, or it's just a topic that we touched very briefly. So to put a very brief idea in there is just not what I want to do. If we're going to talk about anything, we have to really open up the can of worms and make sure we get to the bottom of the can by the end of the conversation. We don't leave stuff half eaten on the plates in the podcast. Like we have to make sure everything's like wrapped up nicely. So a lot of times stuff just gets removed simply for the fact that it just makes the content better. Yes, there are a lot of disagreements we've had about how the podcast would work and what type of topics we're going to talk about and how we're going to talk about them and the episodes that we're going to be doing and in the order and then a lot of stuff. And it's just we have to find a middle point. That's it. Obviously, ultimately, the podcast being my baby, I do have more of a say, but I try to be very evenly divided amongst them because they are contributing to a certain amount. It's a middle point that we just have to land on because there are definitely stuff that just should not be discussed about, as I said before. Can you discuss times where you learned something unexpected from a podcast guest? Oof.
I actually legally can't discuss.
Oh, is it what I think it is?
Yeah, I
okay.
legally can't discuss it. But it was amazing when I found out. I can just say that.
I know you're on about. Yeah, that was funny. That's a really funny
That was a
conversation.
big shocker.
that was a really funny
my-
conversation. All right, stop talking about it though. Gosh. Oh, I'm trying to think. Learn something unexpected. Um, I guess the personal stories, like it's just something you can't expect it, but like that's what just some stuff it just surprises you that people are like, oh yeah, I went through this, you know this is what happened to me. It's like that happened to you, and it's like it can be surprising sometimes hearing the stories that people share. Um, how to balance humor with educational aspects. Oof, this is like
I'm humor. He's educational. That's it.
I try to we try to at the end of the day, if it's really important, we try to stress it with a lot of maturity and responsibility and just make sure the message is clear. If it's something that we have a little more leeway with, we'll try to like insert it in a way that like is jokingly or like teases the topic or something. I don't know. Because obviously serious topics need to be discussed about seriously and openly, but I think a part of that there has to be some level of humor within each episode, because it makes it engaging, and you're not always focusing so much on the serious aspect. It can be really relieving to back away from the serious side of it sometimes, because it can be really stressful and very emotional to deal with very serious topics at times, especially for a long amount of time without having a little laugh. um, so finding that middle point is challenging. um, how do you stay motivated and inspired to keep producing content? We motivate each other. We just say, all right, this is the day you're showing up, and that's it. There's no buts, ifs, ands. You're showing up. You're gonna bring your A game, and that's it. We just create the energy.
Or grab a coffee, grab a soda, grab a snack, whatever you need to do to boost yourself and keep it going. Like the one thing we always try to do is make it not sound like we're bored. We always try to keep a smile, even though you can't see us when we're recording. We try to keep a smile, so therefore, when you smile, you can hear the happiness in our voice. Now, if I'm just like this, now what are you really hearing? See the difference?
um I mean, yeah, basically summarized it. uh how do you deal with burnt out or creative blocks? Personally, I'm the one who deals with that because I'm the one who ends up producing all the content that you guys see. I'm the one that has to make the social media posts because I'm the one that has the experience and knowledge and access to doing that. I'm the one who does a lot of the research and outreaching and whatnot. Yes, I definitely get stressed out and burnt out from the podcast. We took a month break because a lot of issues in my life and Neve's life, that we just needed to take a month break, which is why we didn't do a February episode. Um, or was it March? It was March, I think. Something. Yeah, it was one or the other.
February into March.
So trying to get back into the flow after that was a little hard to find a meeting point because our lives got really complicated again, and then they finally opened back up, and we just got back into the flow. But for me, it's just reminding myself the impact it's going to have at the end of the day, the joy and excitement I get from just interviewing people. Um, that's really it. I mean, just reminding myself at the whole end game and why I started this in the first place, I guess. What's a common misconception about podcasting that you've encountered? Oh my gosh, this is my favorite because all of us thought it was as well, obviously me who already had the experience of podcasting, it's as simple as just showing up and talking and putting a microphone in front of you. It's not. We have to change the way we speak. We have to change the way we think, the way we interact with each other and the equipment. We have to make sure we're directing our voices into the microphones. If we're recording video, we have to make sure we're making eye contact with the video. We're not, going like this, talking like this, where my mic's off to the side and I'm not looking. Um, you can't just pick up anywhere and just start. Podcasting, yes, I will say it's not necessarily something you can raw dog. If you get what I'm saying, you can't just go in without like you can start recording. You on your phone hit record, start talking, yapping, whatever. But to get the overall um outreach and like outcome that you want to like benefit and interact with other people, you have to put a lot into it. You have to invest in decent equipment. You have to invest your time into, the editing of each episode. You have to invest your time into the researching and quality of the content that's going to be put into each episode. There is just, if you, there's a lot that you have to unfortunately invest into the podcast to get the outcome that you would really want. Because don't get me wrong, there are a lot of amazing little podcasts out there that the content is great. The quality of recording and whatnot is obviously not top notch. We have pretty decent. I decided to invest in pretty decent recording equipment and softwares, just to make sure that the quality of this podcast can have the impact that we want it to have. So it's just not as simple as hitting record. If you really want to designed podcast, because you have to think about the content, you have to think about the vibe and the mood of it that you're trying to put out there. There's a lot. There is a lot that goes into it. So that I think is one of the biggest misconceptions that I encountered. I'm not sure about them. I think them more of a. I can definitely say that they just thought it's as easy as just speaking, because it's not, because we'll go back and forth.
Yeah, no,
That they
it's not
messed
as
up.
easy as just speaking.
They messed up and they need to re-say what they were saying, because they're just not. There's so much, like, you really do have to think about the way you speak. Is there anything you want to say?
No, I mean, I think we covered everything.
Biggest hurdle in growing the podcast and how did you overcome it?
Getting the viewers. In the beginning, Jason used to stress over it a lot. I can say that. He's like, are you reposting it? Are you sending it out? You gotta do the outreaching. Let's go. Every day, every day, every day. So keeping up with that and just making sure that we have some activity. We're either doing a TikTok post or trying to get together for a TikTok post.
We haven't posted on TikTok in a while.
I
We gotta do that.
Trying to do live. Like, this is the first live. We were debating whether or not to do camera or just keep voice. But again, it's a lot of work, you guys. And it's not me doing the work. It's him.
I do take definitely like 80% of the hurdles of this podcast. I'm the one that keeps majority of like how you see it is basically mostly because of me. But then I have,
and I ain't afraid to admit it.
Yeah, I have Neve and Ashley, who are like my emotional support and just there to like be like, let's do this. And I definitely wouldn't say I wouldn't be able to do it. I can't say that I would be able to do it without them,
because he can do it without us.
I can, but it wouldn't be as it is if it was without them. Trust me, I yap a lot. I annoy myself. If it wasn't for them to even out the yapping that I do, I doubt I'd have any listeners right now.
If it wasn't for my eye stares at him while we're recording.
But yes, definitely get it. Definitely trying to get viewers and build the following. And we still are, because the reality of it is I want to have as much of an impact as I can with as many people, because I like knowing that I'm positively doing something for a lot of people out there. And I know I'm definitely doing a lot for the 300 people that follow us on Instagram and like the 70 that follow us on Spotify, and probably another 80 collectively throughout the other platforms. I know that those people that are listening, obviously the fact they come back and listen again means that I'm doing something. But I do want to have a bigger outreach and a bigger impact, because there are other people in the world that would benefit from it more than some. It would be a lot more of an outlet, and that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. So making sure it outreaches is one of the biggest stressful. It's still a hurdle, because trying to figure out how we're going to do it, what we're going to post, the content, how to be up to date with trends and stuff to be able to make posts that are going to obviously do that for us. that's still the biggest hurdle and will always be the biggest hurdle, is just trying to build the community more. I will always be happy with the community that I have, but knowing the fact that I can do better, I will constantly push myself to do better. How do we choose the topics and guests for the show? We choose the topics, then we choose the guests. That's how it goes. Because
If we don't know what we're talking about, how do we know that person's story is going to lend to it?
we also sometimes do pick the guest and then pick the topic. Because sometimes we're like, oh, this person can definitely share a lot, but typically the topics end up being their personal story. So in a way, like, we kind of already picked the topic. But no, so we do outreaching. I've been to Pride events, so I've outreached with a lot of organizations, hospitals, nonprofit organizations, a lot of just communities and groups that I like was like, oh, I do a podcast. I would love to cover a topic that you guys handle specifically on the episode. You can come on and talk about what you do and how it benefits and all that stuff. And that's obviously future episodes that we have planned that are going to be a little further in advance, because unfortunately those episodes take a lot longer to produce. So usually it's the topic and then the guest is how we pick it. How we pick the exact topic, though, it depends. We try to figure out what based off what we just talked about, what would be a good flowing topic to listen to next. What's maybe something currently happening right now that would be a good topic to talk about, or just what's something we want to put out there. Because at the end of the day, we were going to do episodes that we want to do for us, and we're going to do episodes that we want to do for our audience, and what's trending. What's one stereotype about podcasters that you'd like to break? I'm not sure, actually. What are stereotypes about podcasters?
I really don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't really know about stereotypes about podcasters. I'm not even gonna lie. We'll skip. How do you manage to keep your private life separate from your public persona as a podcast host? We don't discuss it.
Pretty much.
There are certain like personal aspects we've agreed on that we can and will discuss. There's others that we have to agree on in the moment that it's the right moment to bring out, and then there's others we've completely agreed on to never bring up into the podcast. It just depends on the time and place, the content that we're talking about, and if it's suitable for the podcast episode. Again, this podcast isn't necessarily about us, so that's why we try to keep our personal life out of it. It's more about the guest and the audience is what the podcast is about. So we try to, like I say, leave our personal lives out. Yes, we do want you to understand us as hosts and people, because we are human beings as well. And we want you to feel like you can understand us and understand who we are and understand the points that we're coming from. But at the end of the day, we want to stress your opinions and your personal, struggles more than ours. How do you approach learning and growth within the realm of advocacy? Just doing research. Just being open-minded, I think.
Questions there.
How do you hope the Queer Quarters will evolve in the next 5 years? I can't say the next 5 years, but I could say at least the next year for sure. I won't get too deep into that yet, but there's like a certain thing in my life that's going to happen, may happen, most probably will happen, like a 90% chance.
I can say we will definitely not be close by. I've started, well, me and my fiance finally decided to start a life for ourselves and start growing. So we'll be.
So there's a lot of stuff that's going to change how the podcast is working and going to work. In my head, I have a deadline of 1 year on this podcast, quite literally. I have 1 year left to create as much content and as much beneficial content and learn as much and create as much of an impact within that year. And obviously once like 3 months, 6 months before that deadline, I will probably open up more about why, because it's just not something that needs to be discussed on the podcast. It has no benefit.
At least not right now.
At least not right now. It's not something to worry about. Would I like to bring back the podcast after that, that happens, if I do have the time in my future, or if I can work on it throughout, yes, I would love to keep working on it. But this was more of like a hobby, a temporary like side gig, I guess, in a way. Like I wasn't gonna do this professionally. I wasn't gonna do this like my whole life. Even if it became a hit, I don't think I don't think I would. It's like a small little chapter in my life. That's how I look at it. The future, I just really hope that it continues to grow and impact a lot of people, and I make a lot more connections that I've already have made throughout the podcast, and that continues to benefit people. What's the best piece of feedback you've received from a guest or listener?
I don't think I've told Jason this, but I was walking to our local library to meet up with my sister-in-law, and I had 3 students come up to me.
Oh, actually, I never heard this story.
3 students came up to me and they're like, "Hey, are you Neve from the Queer Quarters?" And they asked for a picture.
Actually,
Yeah, and it was the first time that happened.
when was this?
This was like for the 8th grade graduation. For
Like June?
yeah, like ending of June, like the last week of school.
That's so crazy. You never told
Last
me
2
that.
weeks
Oh
of
my
school.
gosh.
And that was the first time I ever had that happen. And then I got thanked for, doing what
yeah.
I do.
Do you know their names?
No,
Or-
but I know the person follows me.
Okay, we can talk about this after then. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my gosh. There's this guy, I want to say late 30s, early 40s, that texted me, and was like, I mentioned this before. He was like, I'm an older guy, but what you're talking about is very relatable still to this day, and when I was your age, and it's beneficial, and it was just explaining how much it means to him, and it means a lot to me when I get feedback like that. Because it just shows that, like, obviously what I'm doing isn't just impacting people like similar to my age, it's impacting people who are a little older and people who may be even younger than me. um but no, I've never had that happen to me yet. No one's ever come up to me like, oh, you're the host of the Queer Quarters. No,
So
but there
random.
are I do have friends that come up to me and are like, well, how's the podcast going? It's not like a stranger, so it's like, but you know what I mean.
I've been graduating from high school, so
Yeah,
that was out
that's
of nowhere.
that's so funny. That's cute. That's adorable, actually. It's so nice, sweet,
They
even.
were in my high school too. I just don't know.
Let's see. Can you share an instant where the podcast facilitated a deeper understanding or reconciliation for someone? Us. I talked about that earlier. Just us. We built a deeper and realer bond with each other because we never. I want to see like everything that's going. Oh, yeah, the guy from City Tacos and Wings just joined. Caesar, yeah. He's on the account. He just joined the live. Just us as friends, like we've developed a serious, deeper bond with each other, and understanding stuff that we never talked about with each other, and like things we never like opened up about. Um, that's what I would like back, like really. I want to like stress that. There's no way I can stress that enough. Truly, I don't think you really have much to say for that too, though. That's What's a fun fact about each host that listeners might not know? Gosh, I'm trying to think. It's almost like nothing that I have.
Fun fact.
Oh, my track coach, and gym coach, her dad fishes with Ariana Grande's dad.
Ooh.
Not about me, but like it's a part of my life, I guess. And I was like, can you and she got backstage tickets to meet Ariana Grande because of that. I was like, can you like get your dad to like listen to the podcast and see if he can like get it to Ariana Grande's dad, and see if then Ariana Grande's dad will get Ariana Grande into the podcast, and then maybe we can get her on the podcast. She's like an ally, and she's like a lot of gays love her. And then there's Taylor Swift as well, but Taylor Swift's that's a whole different. Oh, if I could get Taylor Swift on the podcast, I would probably. Ashley would go crazy because she's a Swiftie, but I would just in general probably just faint. Never like I would just completely just have a heart attack and die, because to have someone like her on the podcast would be insane. I guess that's like the only thing I can really say. There's nothing really fun about me.
A fun fact about me, I guess, is I have a cousin who was on Broadway, and I have another cousin who danced with the Rockettes. So, family of dancers.
What's your favorite part of the part? What's your favorite part of the part? Right. So, what's your favorite part of the podcasting process? Re-listening to everything because it's like it makes you realize like I
Getting to
should.
go home after the video.
Um, re-listening to everything, realizing, oh, this is what I could do better. This is what I can improve on. This is what they can improve on. Um, Calling them out on their stuff. Um, just critiquing it and improving myself because of it. That's my favorite part of the process. Though it's also the most annoying because, gosh, listening to myself speak and these speak and everyone else that I interview speak.
Oh, I know. It's how annoying it is.
No, because you're not the one. You listen to each episode like once and that's it. Once you've listened to the complete version, I spend up to 4 to 8 hours on each episode editing it. Re-listening. I re-listen to each episode at least 3 times to edit it and at least 2 more times after it's done to make sure it's actually like done. I still listen to the episodes even after they've been published because I was like, was there anything I missed? Most annoying part. Just really, really, yeah. I hate listening to myself speak too. I gotten used to that, like, like when you play back your voice and you're like, oh, why do I sound like that? I sound weird. I gotten used to that already because of how much I've re-listened to it.
Yeah,
It's just I'm annoyed
choir.
of listening to myself speak so much. And that also opens my mind to how much I yap to other people because then I'm like, I'm doing too much right now. Because it was like, if I listen to myself speak right now, I'm gonna be annoyed. So the other person's probably annoyed. Have I yapped a lot this live stream? Yes. Does it matter? No. My live stream, my podcast.
This live stream has been we've been here for about 2 hours.
An hour and a half it's been going. But we only started an hour 20 minutes ago because remember that. Anyways, last but not least, can each host describe a moment when they felt their voice made a difference? Just the person. This was similar to another question already. Just this, the people that you saw, and then the people that text.
It's like same question, differently.
The messages I see. That's really it. Other questions that we have received from people specifically, religious aspect, because it was asked, I will talk about it out of respect. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't bring it up. From a religious perspective, someone want to know what religion we are and how it plays into us. I will go ahead and say I'm more of an agnostic person. I do not deny that there's a God, but I cannot deny that there isn't a God. Like I don't think about spirituality. Like if you ask me what would happen to me after I died, it doesn't faze me. It's like whatever. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Whatever happens happens. If I turn into nothing, I turn into nothing. If I go to the burning pits of where because I'm gay, then so be it. I'll slay the fire, like slay the house down type stuff. I will throw a party down there every day. And if I go up, wherever, and then wherever the other beliefs are. I grew up in a Catholic house, a Roman Catholic house specifically. My parents are Middle Eastern from Portugal, a very Catholic religion, Catholic, whatever. I say it differently depending on my mood. So like those opinions were portrayed on me as a kid. I did CCD school, which is like going like church and learning about the religion. For till like my freshman year of high school, and then I like finally like voiced to my parents like this isn't what I want to do. I don't believe in it. I don't, it's not something that like fits me as a person. And obviously me and my parents got into a lot of fights and arguments about it. And then eventually I told them like I'm just not gonna go. Like you're not gonna like I'm just not gonna get out of bed. I'm not gonna go.
Got him so kicked out.
Like I said, there was like because it's something important to my family, but it's important to me that I don't put myself through something that I don't believe in.
I meant of the church, not of my mother in that aspect, but
so I just stopped going. My parents said, okay, then we're not signing you up. And that was the end of that conversation.
It worked out.
I don't go to church. My parents were saying, we're going to go to church tomorrow. Do you want to come? I go, no, I'm going to sleep in. So we're at a point now where they can respect my opinion and I respect theirs. I don't care what they believe in personally. Like they can do whatever they want, but for me, that's not, you know. How does that play into me as a person? I'm not spiritual, so I don't like, you know, that plays a lot, but I can't really get into that because then that gets way too personal and political to go into those opinions. So I can't really say. Um, but that's how it kind of has affected me. And I can get into a whole conversation about this. And it's probably something that we'll talk about in the religion episode that we want when we want to put out a religion episode eventually at some point. Um, it's just who we're interviewing and the content of the episode. So that's something that we're gonna plan to do. So probably talk a little more in that episode.
So for me, I grew up, well, I was raised to be Roman Catholic. Like I got baptized. I did CCD classes up to 8th grade. I got my communion, and then that was it. Um, but in my family, we're a line of Brujas. If you don't know what it is, that's witch, like witches. So I'm pagan Catholic, I'd say. Like I know about like the Bible, some scriptures, but I was really raised based on herbs, spirits, vibes, auras. So that's the way I was raised. Like some people don't believe in seeing dead people, but that's what I can see.
And honestly, she's opened my mind to other religions and aspects. I talked to her about this stuff. Quite a bit, not often now.
He has like he obviously like not knowing or not being able to see. He always has a lot of questions on it.
Christian privilege, as they say. Think that they're on. Can't say that. Sorry, that's too personal. Anyways, I'm not trying to start an argument with people.
Oh my goodness.
I respect people and their religions, but do I have my personal opinions on some? Yes.
We do.
So, anyways,
That was really it.
yeah, and that's it because we haven't had any other questions. I mean, the other ones were answered privately because that's how it was asked to be responded to. So can't get into those, and no one really has. I mean, someone asked future guests. If you look at our 6 months recap and like looking ahead post that we did, talks about the episodes and the guests that we kind of want to have on. So you can, you know, we'll name drop as stuff gets closer, but
we're trying not to do that right now.
Especially because like we don't have guests that are confirmed. We have potential. We have more potential guests. Like we have a few confirmed. Actually, we don't even have confirmed guests anymore because those confirmed guests were already interviewed and their stuff is waiting to be posted. Like it's already scheduled and everything. Those episodes are done. So we don't even have any more confirmed guests. Now we're just working with more potential guests on when and what we're going to talk about and what that's going to look like. But there's a lot planned. And there's a lot that I want to bring in, obviously. But it's just not something I can do right now. Because obviously I don't have guests or people that I can do that episode with, unfortunately. So, yeah. Besides that, I mean, no one else has really asked much. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. Any final notes you have to say, Neve?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you for the people that, you know, did show up and participate a bit in the live stream and just kind of popped their heads in and said hi or just was tuning in. I hope everyone has a great day. I'm going to post this copy, the full version. So there's you saying your stuff because I'm not going to edit that out. You said that. People can attack you. That's your personal stuff. That's why. So
opinions are like rums. Everyone has one. That's what I always said.
I'm gonna have this posted on Spotify. I'll have this posted on YouTube so people can find
it's gonna be posted everywhere.
Pretty much.
Hello, social media, where the internet never dies.
I hope someone finds that in a future job interview and they're like, you said this and did this on a live stream and we found it. And they're like, you can't be hired.
What you gonna say?
Watch it. You're gonna have a boss that's Indian and he's gonna be like, I got a video of you saying this about Indian people. Watch it. I'm telling you, it's gonna come back to bite you. Everything does.
That'd be funny as
Um,
fuck.
So,
Sorry.
anyways, I mean that's it. I guess I'm gonna start cleaning
My phone's
everything up.
getting
I hope
really
everyone
hot.
has a great day.
Yes, have a wonderful
Um,
afternoon, everyone.
Tune into the
enjoy
podcast
heat.
if you haven't already. Watch the episodes, stream them, leave ratings, leave feedback, get in contact with us, like what you want to see, the content you want us to do for you, and all that good stuff. And give this cuckoo some attention because she needs it.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I can figure out how to end it.
Oh.